The morning sun reflected off the towering glass walls of Blackstone Global Headquarters, turning the 40-story building into a shining monument of wealth and power. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Executives hurried through revolving doors. Security guards stood motionless, scanning every visitor with trained eyes. No one noticed the little girl sitting quietly across the street. She couldn't have been older than 10. Her dark hair was tied into a loose ponytail, and she wore a faded blue hoodie that looked 2 sizes too big. A worn backpack rested beside her. Her name was May. She wasn't begging. She wasn't selling anything. She was simply waiting. Every weekday, after finishing school, May sat on the same bench while her grandmother cleaned offices in the nearby buildings. To everyone else, she was invisible. But May noticed everything. She watched faces. She remembered voices. And she spoke 3 languages: English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Her grandmother always said, "People reveal their secrets when they think nobody understands them." Those words stayed with May. That Thursday afternoon seemed ordinary. Employees laughed as they left work. Drivers opened doors for wealthy executives. Delivery trucks came and went. Then a sleek black limousine pulled up. Everyone recognized it instantly. It belonged to billionaire entrepreneur Adrian Blackwood, founder of Blackwood Technologies, one of the richest men in America. Newspapers called him the man who could buy anything. But very few knew the lonely man behind the headlines. Adrian stepped out of the building wearing a charcoal gray suit. Tall, calm, confident. His security team surrounded him immediately. 4 bodyguards, 2 private drivers. Everything looked routine, until 2 newly hired guards moved closer. They smiled politely. But once Adrian turned away, they quietly switched to Mandarin. One guard whispered, "He's leaving exactly on schedule." The other nodded. "Good. The package is already inside." May froze. "Package?" The first guard continued. "He won't make it past the tunnel." The second answered, "Once the car reaches the bridge, it's over." May's heart nearly stopped. She looked toward the limousine. The trunk had already been closed. No one else seemed alarmed. No one understood what the guards were saying. Everyone assumed they were discussing ordinary security procedures. But May understood every word. Her hands began shaking. Maybe she misunderstood. She listened again. The first guard quietly laughed. "No witnesses." The second replied, "By tonight, Blackwood Industries belongs to someone else." Cold fear rushed through May's body. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Someone wanted Adrian Blackwood dead. She looked around desperately. Who could she tell? The police. They'd never believe a child. The guards themselves. Impossible. If they realized she understood Mandarin, she might become their next problem. Across the street, Adrian thanked several employees before walking toward the limousine. Only 20 feet remained. May's heartbeat pounded inside her ears. If she stayed silent, he would die. Without thinking anymore, she sprinted. Wait. Pedestrians turned. Security instantly reacted. 2 bodyguards stepped forward. One blocked her path. "Back away." May tried pushing past him. "No. Don't let him get in the car." The guard frowned. "Kid, move." Adrian paused halfway to the limousine. He glanced toward the commotion. The bodyguard grabbed May's arm. "She's probably another attention seeker." May struggled. "I'm serious." Nobody listened. One of the Mandarin-speaking guards exchanged a nervous glance with the other. Very subtle. Almost invisible. But May saw it. She shouted with every ounce of courage she had. "They said the package is already inside." Silence. The 2 guards instantly turned pale. Adrian stopped walking. Slowly. Very slowly. He faced the girl. "What did you just say?" May swallowed. They were speaking Mandarin. Nobody moved. The guards looked at each other. One forced a laugh. "Sir, she's making things up." Adrian's expression didn't change. He looked directly at May. "What exactly did they say?" She repeated every sentence, word for word, perfect Mandarin, even matching the accents. The billionaire's face became unreadable. His chief of security immediately barked. "Open the vehicle." 2 officers rushed toward the limousine. The Mandarin-speaking guards suddenly became restless. One quietly reached toward his radio. The other took one careful step backward. Adrian noticed. "So," he said softly. "Why are my newest guards trying to leave?" The chief of security turned. "Stop them." Everything exploded into chaos. The two guards bolted in opposite directions. Security tackled one almost instantly. The other sprinted toward the parking garage. People screamed. Employees scattered. One bodyguard chased him. Another protected Adrian. Meanwhile, technicians searched the limousine. 30 terrifying seconds passed. Then, "Sir," one security officer emerged from beneath the vehicle. His face had gone white. "We found something." Everyone stared. Attached beneath the rear axle, hidden behind a protective panel, was a sophisticated explosive device. Silence swept across the entire entrance. Someone had planted a bomb. May slowly backed away. She hadn't imagined any of it. She had saved the billionaire's life. Adrian looked at her differently now. Not as a frightened child, but as the reason he was still breathing. Police arrived within minutes. Bomb disposal units surrounded the limousine. Entire city blocks were evacuated. Television helicopters circled overhead. Reporters rushed toward the scene. Nobody understood how the attack had been prevented. Inside the security perimeter, detectives interviewed everyone. Especially May. An officer knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, how do you speak Mandarin?" "My grandmother raised me." "Where's your family?" "My parents died when I was little." The officer's expression softened. "And your grandmother?" "She's cleaning offices." At that exact moment, across the street, an elderly woman came running, panic filling her face. "May." She pushed through the growing crowd. "My granddaughter." Police stopped her briefly before allowing her through. She hugged May tightly. "What happened?" May whispered. "I think I got into trouble." The old woman looked terrified. Then Adrian himself walked over. The crowd fell silent. One of the richest men in the country stood before the frightened grandmother. He extended his hand. "No." He smiled gently. "She saved my life." The grandmother blinked. "I'm sorry." Adrian crouched to May's eye level. "You understood everything they said." May nodded. "I didn't want you to die." For the first time that day, the billionaire smiled. Neither of them noticed several cameras capturing the moment. Within hours, those photographs would spread across every news channel in America. That evening, Blackwood Mansion resembled a fortress. Additional security teams patrolled every entrance. Federal investigators searched every inch of the property. The attempted assassination had shaken everyone. Especially Adrian. He sat alone in his library, replaying the day in his mind. One question haunted him. How had two assassins entered his personal security detail? Someone powerful had helped them. Someone close. A knock interrupted his thoughts. His longtime assistant entered. "Sir." "What is it?" "We've completed background checks. And they weren't who they claimed to be." Adrian frowned. "Fake identities. Completely fabricated." He leaned back. "So someone placed them beside me?" "Yes. And if that little girl hadn't overheard them?" The assistant remained silent. No answer was necessary. Adrian would already be dead. He looked toward the rain falling outside the massive windows. "What do we know about the girl?" The assistant opened a folder. "Name: May Lin. Age: 10. School: public elementary 3 blocks away. Family: only her grandmother. Income." The assistant hesitated. "Very low." Adrian closed the folder. "Find them. They're already home." "I know." The assistant looked confused. Adrian stood. "I mean tomorrow. I want to meet them properly." Meanwhile, in a tiny apartment on the other side of the city, May and her grandmother shared a simple dinner. Rice, vegetables, soup, nothing luxurious. The grandmother finally asked, "Tell me exactly what happened." May explained everything, every sentence, every word. When she finished, the old woman looked frightened. "You should never have gotten involved. But he would have died." "I know." She reached across the table and held May's hand. "Your parents would have been proud." May smiled faintly. Then, someone knocked on the apartment door. 3 slow knocks. The grandmother frowned. "We aren't expecting anyone." She carefully opened the door. Standing outside, wearing expensive suits, were 3 men. One stepped forward politely. "Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Adrian Blackwood." The grandmother's eyes widened. "He wishes to invite you both for breakfast tomorrow." She hesitated. "Why?" The man smiled. "Because he believes he owes your granddaughter his life." Before she could answer, a black SUV parked across the street. Its engine remained running. Inside, a shadowy figure watched the apartment through tinted windows. He lowered a pair of binoculars. then spoke quietly into his phone. "So," he said coldly, "the little girl is still alive." A long pause. Then another voice answered from the other end. "That means she becomes the next problem."